Now we're going to move on with the professionals, unlike myself. I would like to bring on our moderator. Our moderator, who is a vice president and partner of the Alamo Insurance Group Incorporated. She is responsible for driving growth and expansion of the company, helping to propel Alamo to its current position as one of the largest certified minority-owned full-service insurance brokerage firms in the country. Our moderator attended Billy Dixon University and completed her students at Trinity College and University of Suffolk Falls of South Dakota, where she earned her bachelor's degree in business administration. Our moderator is Governor Christie's statewide urban coalition. She is also New Jersey's Association of Women Business Owners. She is a lifelong member of the NAACP. She is elected to the school board of Warren County, director of the Warren County College Foundation. She's the director on the Warren County College Foundation Board. Our moderator for this evening is Tamisha D. Smith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to see so many beautiful faces in the audience this evening. Oh man, I know we had a slight late start, but I'm telling you, it is absolutely worth the wait. I mean, look at our esteemed panel of guests. I'm not going to stand up here and belabor why we're here. We are all here because we know that programs like this are important. Celebrating our Black History Month. Do we know that Negro History Week was started by Carter G. Woodson? It did not become Black History Month until 1976. I was born then, so obviously it's not that long ago. But we can see why this is important because we're talking about continuing to educate our population, our youth, our families, and that's why we're here today. One of the important things talking about education is our Amistad Commission that was started by our own Congressman Donald Payne, because we need to ensure that it's not only Black History Month, but that we make Black history an integral part of American history. Okay? So again, these programs are so important, and we're so glad to see you here this evening. Several of the things that we will be talking about this evening are church, how we need to maintain that foundation, politics, how to get involved, get elected to your school board, run for a council position, state assembly, legislature. We have to be able to make a difference. This 2010 census has showed us so much that the population in New Jersey, the dynamics of New Jersey, have changed alone. So we need to make sure that we stay involved to be able to make a difference. A lot of people may have seen me on Facebook, and I have a politicians or public figure page there. And one of the things that I always say when I end my notes is, get involved, make something happen. Can't sit on the sidelines anymore. We have to make sure that we stay involved to make sure that we educate our children and keep them abreast of what's going on, not only in our Black history, but our American history. Okay. So, without further ado, okay, I apologize. Just a little bit on our first speaker, which is Reverend Kenneth Clayton. Reverend Clayton is a senior pastor at the St. Luke's Baptist Church of Paterson, New Jersey, where he is a native. Reverend Clayton is a graduate of Upsala College of East Orange, New Jersey, my hometown. He earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration. He also graduated from the New York Theological Seminary, where he earned preachers at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And without further ado, Reverend Kenneth Clayton.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Excuse me, can we ask everyone in here who has a cell phone to turn it off, please, and turn down the vibrate now?
Good evening again. I want to thank Ms. Smith for her kind words of introduction. I want to thank Jeffrey Dye. I think I want to thank Jeffrey for allowing me to be on this panel to share with you for a brief 2 or 3 minutes. I called him earlier and I told him I was going to do something I don't do at church.
Preachers at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And without further ado, Reverend Kenneth Clayton.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Excuse me, can we ask everyone in here who has a cell phone to turn it off, please, and turn down the vibrate now?
Good evening again. I want to thank Ms. Smith for her kind words of introduction. I want to thank Jeffrey Dye. I think I want to thank Jeffrey for allowing me to be on this panel to share with you for a brief 2 or 3 minutes. I called him earlier and I told him I was going to do something I don't do at church. And it was deepened and it was enriched by the challenges that we face as people. Our hardships, our pain, our struggles, the attempt to dehumanize us and to make us nothing only strengthen our faith and commitment to a God who is able to keep us and endure us in all things. Those trials that we endured from being brought to Africa, being brought from Africa, being brought to American soil, in the ensuing years, though they were vicious and they were hurtful and mean, they only sought to deepen our commitment, our resolve, and our strength. So much so that the black church was really the originator of all the things that happened in black life. Our schools, our banks were all organized and began in churches because we understood there's people of faith that our faith that produce no works was dead. And when people kept things from us, people in church found ways to enlarge our lives to make us whole and to make us real. And we did a modern civil rights movement that really began, and we would say in the early 50s. December 1st, 1955 is the defining moment in the life of black people in America, and it's a defining moment in the church. That's the night or the day when a woman just got sick and tired. She refused to give up her seat. She was not the first person to do that. There been many people who had done that before, but Rosa Parks was the woman, the right woman at the right moment to fit the bill. She was had been an officer in ACT in Montgomery. Her and her husband had been upset in the community, and it was that person they decided to use as the poster child, if you will, for this movement. When she refused to give up her seat, when she was jailed, and she was taken off the bus and put in jail, a young black preacher, a young black Baptist preacher, 27 years old, and Martin Luther King was tagged that night as the leader of a movement, and none of them knew then what would happen in the ensuing years. Now, it's important to understand that we talk about the role of the church that several years prior to that, Dr. King, he had studied or had been friends with a preacher whose name was T.J. Jefferson, who in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, had already sponsored a bus boycott. Dr. Jefferson had served our convention, National Convention USA Incorporated, as the secretary and then as its president for many years. They were friends, and Dr. King learned how to put a movement like that together from Dr. Jefferson. And for almost 1 year, the Montgomery buses were at a standstill because black people put their money where their mouths were.
Yes, sir.
They were led by black preachers.
Go ahead.
It's important to understand you cannot talk about the civil rights movement in any context without understanding the pivotal role of the black church. If there had been no church, there likely would have been no movement.
That's right.
It was their faith in God that anchored them again and gave them strength and power to see what they saw, but to defy what they saw, know there could be a bright side somewhere, and that they were responsible for that bright side of their lives. So they organized, they connected, they came together, and they did shut a city down.
Yes, they
When the
did.
city was needed because they refused to be treated like less than human beings. A year after that, 1956, integration of buses became a reality in Montgomery, and from that small town in Alabama, movement to change the world was sparked. Again, when you and I look at pictures of the civil rights movement, the 50s and the 60s, it's impossible to look at it and not see the pivotal role of the church. Martin Luther King, Ralph Abernathy, Andrew Young,
Yes, sir.
Billy Kyle, Hosea Williams, the list goes on, Joe Larry, Fred Shuttlesworth, you get this Vivian, C.T. Vivian. The list goes on and on about people who left them, but they were all preachers. And we're going to understand what the church did, and we're going to try to discover what the church should be doing now. Look at what the church did then. The church came together and united around significant causes. The hurts of our people, the pain of our people, the plight of our people. And they understood then, and we should understand now, that the agency to redeem the world is the church. The church to be the body of Christ in the world, the hands and feet of God, making the world better by who we are and by what we do. We diminish church now to singing, shouting, sweating, preaching, and praying. And those are essential components of what we do, but that's not all we've been called to do. Because the result of our preaching, praying, swinging, swaying, singing, shouting should be that we find strength to go change the world.
That's right.
It said of the first church in Acts that these are the days to help turn the world upside down. Billy Kyle said in our church on Sunday that the black church was used to help turn the world right side up. And what the church did then, the church will still be doing now. Because though times have changed, the context that we find ourselves living in are still the same. Our people are hurting, our people are being dehumanized in different ways. It is our role and responsibility, our job, and our task to continue being what Christ said, the light of the world and the salt of the earth. There's an interesting passage in Scripture, and then I'm done, Matthew 27:22, where Jesus was on his way to die on Calvary's cross, and he found a black man. The text says that his name was Simon of Cyrene. Cyrene is in Africa. He found a black man to carry his cross. A black man was called to carry the cross of Christ then, and the black church is called now to carry the cross of Christ.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're going to change our program up just a little bit because we have a guest who is not here as of yet. And I know that you can tell from the program that we have moved, did not get a selection from the Black History Choir as of yet. So we're going to put them after our next speaker, and we're going to get 2 selections from them back to back, so you better stay in your seats. Stay in your seats. All right, so our next guest speaker is Lawrence Hale. He is the chairman of the People's Organization for Progress in Newark, New Jersey. The People's Organization for Progress is an organization of tireless fighters for justice for African American people on every front. The PLP has formed for the following purposes: to educate the people about relevant social, economic, and political issues. And we know that is so important. If anybody saw Governor Christie's budget address today, then you know why this is important. To continuously organize and mobilize the grassroots community so that it can effectively solve its problems and fight for its needs. To improve the social and economic conditions of our community. Again, we have the rich class, we have the middle class, but they're being squeezed into the less fortunate. So again, this is so important that we stay involved in our communities and educate our children to work for the total elimination.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Y'all feeling pretty strong tonight, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Let us give a big Passaic County, New Jersey welcome to Dr. Cornel West. Let us give a deserved, warmest round of applause to that person that played a seminal role in organizing this program tonight, Jeffrey Dye. Glad to see my friend of some years, Dr. West, here tonight. I was asked, Jeffrey wrote my speech for me. I have it right here. I was asked to talk about unity, Black history, the importance of community activism, and the need for various organizations to unite. Before I address those topics, I just want to say, and this is also related to Black history, our community mourns the homegoing of a great activist from Passaic County, from Paterson, New Jersey, Brother Kamau Kalfani. Brother Kamau Kalfani was a lifelong activist. His activism began before he got here. He was a strong voice in the city, I believe, of Las Vegas, Nevada. In fact, I met him just after he returned to New Jersey from Las Vegas. Many of you know him as the television host of the cable show, The Learning Tree, and the host of the radio program on WBAI of the same name, The Learning Tree. He was a Pan-Africanist, a Black nationalist, an internationalist, and an African spiritualist. And his passing on is a great loss to our community. But we pledge that in return for his tremendous contribution to our community, that we will continue to fight for justice in an even stronger way now that he is gone. I also want to recognize I'm getting up in age now, just having my 57th birthday. I'm still glad to be here. Got up this morning, did 92 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, ran 3.3 miles. So I feel pretty good at 57. But I forgot his African name. My memory is not as sharp as it used to be, but I met him as Deacon Eddie Little. And he is here tonight. Give him a round of applause. And there has been an organization in this community. In fact, I'm no stranger to Passaic. With the things I have said when I've come here, I'm surprised I keep getting re-invited. But I was just here, Brother West, for the flag raising. The Kassim Washington group, together with other organizations, they have an annual raising of the Black Liberation flag. So you can go to the Municipal Plaza, right down the street here. You'll see the American flag. You'll see the New Jersey flag. But you'll see the red, black, and green South African flag. So I want to thank the Kassim Washington group. And is he here? Where is he? Give him a big hand. And of course, I mentioned him already, but I need to mention him again. I've known Jeffrey Dye for almost 10 years, maybe longer than that. I think maybe I met Jeffrey around the Million Man March. Y'all remember the Million Man March, right? In fact, I heard some people in Egypt were talking about a Million Man March, inspired by our Million Man March. But I think I actually met Jeffrey around the time of the Million Man March, and he has been a tireless fighter for justice, a community activist, and he's even run for office in his community. And I personally think that he would be a fine addition to any elected body in Passaic County. So I hope that you will support him in this election. The reverend that spoke before me, Reverend Clayton, spoke so eloquently about the role of the black church. And he talked about the role that the church played in the civil rights movement, the role that the church played in the formation of the Montgomery Improvement Association, the role that the church played in the Montgomery bus boycotting, the longest boycott in the history of the United States of America, lasting 381 days, the Montgomery bus boycott. Our ancestors had such strength. And believe it or not, one of the organizers of the Montgomery bus boycott is right here in our community. And you need to bring her in to talk about it. She's an eyewitness, Sister Theodora Lacey. Yes, she was on the original organizing committee of the Montgomery bus boycott, was a personal assistant to Dr. Martin Luther King, was even a part of his security team during the Montgomery bus boycott. See, you don't always have to look outside of your community for the great people in our history. These people are right here among us. But you have to have a keen eye and a sharp ear. You have to be aware and read and see what's going on to identify these people. There are many people like Theodora Lacey that are around. But this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Rides, which were also an important event in the civil rights movement. There was a Montgomery bus boycott that ended in 1956. Then the Freedom Rides started several years after that. And I know something about the Freedom Rides because I'm old enough. I don't know if Dr. West is old enough, but I'm old enough to remember segregation. And segregation wasn't just down there in Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia. Segregation was right here in Patterson, in North, in other communities. It wasn't just a Southern phenomenon. I can remember, I don't know how many of you remember the RKO projects in Newark, the Branford Theater, the Lowe's, the Paramount. Up until the 1960s, these were segregated theaters. Black people could not sit in the mezzanine. We could only sit in the balcony. I know something about the Freedom Rides because in 1962, I got on a train that still runs. You go down to Penn Station, look up on the board, you'll see the Silver Meteor that runs up and down the East Coast from Florida to Maine. Now we got on the Silver Meteor in Penn Station in Newark, got on with everybody else, white, black, got on, sat down, sat in front, sat beside some white people. But when we got to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the citadel of democracy, the home of the Jefferson Monument and the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Monument, where they keep the Declaration of Independence. It was there in Washington, D.C. that the conductor came to my family and said, we had to move to the rear of the train because they had Jim Crow cars on the trains back in 1960. See, you don't have to just read the history books. History is just a distillation of our lived experience. We need the elders, we need to start talking about what we experienced in those people. That's why there's a disconnect, because we fail to tell the story. The next time we sit down for Thanksgiving dinner and for Christmas dinner and for Easter dinner, don't turn on the game. Gather around the table and start talking about the black history that you lived in your life. Then we connect. Our young people are purposeless because we have not given them a sense of direction. They don't know where they are on the historical map. They know only what they're told on the television and on the radio. So this is the importance of black history. It shouldn't just be in February during Black History Month. We need to study our history all year round. And y'all need to go buy some Black history books. Don't just put them films on television. Get some books and read some books. Get Dr. West's book and read his book. Read his book. And you know what else? Maybe we need to come together and have some community reading. Where don't just sit at home as individuals and read, but come together. You want to talk about the Montgomery bus boycott? Get Dr. King's book, Stride Toward Freedom. In POP, we had a community reading. We spent the day early in the morning, and we started reading. Everybody took a few pages, and in some hours we finished that book together, and then we discussed it. We need to come together, brothers and sisters, and study and read our history. And then after we read our history, after our history informs our practice, and history informs, you know, a lot of what is going on right now has decided. Dr. West, I heard last week that one of the former Confederate states wants to put a Confederate general on a license plate. Now y'all got to understand what's going down here. See, you take the Civil War lightly. This is the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. You can't understand what's going on in America today unless you understand the Civil War. That wasn't their Civil War, it was our Civil War. We would not be sitting here today a free people had it not been for the 220,000 black men who joined the Union forces and defeated the slaveocracy in the South. See, we got to go and find something when Veterans Day comes around. It shouldn't just be another day off. In every cemetery around here, we got some graves of some black Civil War soldiers. We need to find those graves and go and honor those brothers. Right down there in Pennington, New Jersey, right outside of Princeton, they got what's called the African Cemetery. Why do they have an African cemetery in Pennington, New Jersey? Because when those black men's dead bodies were brought back from the Civil War, they couldn't be buried in the same cemetery with the white people. There was segregation from birth to death. So the black people went out and got their own piece of land and buried their soldiers there. And you can go there and you can read their headstones. And on their headstones, it tells you what they did. Infantryman, cavalryman, cannon master. They wanted you to know down through the ages the contribution that they made. Because this country didn't want to let go of slavery. It was too sweet. Too much money was being made. There was more money, more capital in slavery than there was in industrial and banking capital combined. It took a war, the greatest war this country ever fought. 600,000 people died. That's a terrible catastrophe. But that's what it took to end, to break the back of the slaveocracy. And we must never forget those black men that made their lives so that we might still be free. So it's important to study about history. And then it's important to take that study and let that study inform our practice. And what do I mean by practice? I mean, brothers and sisters, that it is time for us to rise up once again. It is time for us to rise up the way we rose up during the 60s. Our people are suffering like never before. And we walk around here zombified by the television and by the radio and by everything else going around, not understanding that we're in one of the worst periods now that we have ever. In 1968, there are more poor people in America today than there were in 1968 when Dr. King was assassinated. More black people live in poverty today than in 1968 when Dr. King was assassinated. You see them people in Egypt marching, rising up. That's what we should be doing. We should be on the move like the people of Egypt. But let me tell you a secret. There are more poor people in America than there are in Egypt. There's a greater divide between the rich and the poor in America than there movement stronger than we had during the 60s. A movement rooted in our neighborhoods and rooted in our communities to transform this country. Our people have lost more wealth in the last 2 years. There have been 2 million home foreclosures. 1 million of those have been black families. Our communities are suffering from astronomical rates of unemployment. No other people would tolerate this. We have a 50% unemployment rate among black men between the ages of 18 and 35. Nobody else would tolerate it. We shouldn't tolerate it either.
Yes, ma'am.
We shouldn't tolerate it either. So it's time for us to unite, brothers and sisters. It's time for us to get on the move. And all of our organizations that are off doing their own thing, yes, we have different purposes and different tasks, but we got to come together. We got to come together. Whatever the differences are that are dividing us, those differences are not greater than the needs that exist to unite us. We must unite. We must unite for our survival. The literal survival of our people is at stake. Today there are 2 million men in federal prisons. 1.2 million of them are black. In New Jersey, 70% of the prison population is black and Latino. They are bringing back slavery through the criminal justice system. And we must build a counter movement to this. Our survival and the survival of our children depends upon it. So I say not only must we unite in coalitions, but we must strengthen and build our organizations. Right now, a lot of us walking around here puffed up. I'm the head of this and I'm the head of that. And you can't bring 10 people together on the street corner. You can't bring 10 people together on the street corner. You want to be recognized by this one and recognized by that one. You want your name in the paper. You want your name on the radio. You want to be seen on TV. And you can't bring 10 people together on the street corner. Right now should be filled with scores of people. We should have memberships of hundreds, not memberships of 10s and 20s. And all you brothers and sisters that sit on the sidelines, you have to stand up and get involved. They're shooting our people tonight. I got a call on the way down here. A sister, her son was shot to death by the police. Right on the street. Most of our young men can't even get to jail right now. They can't get to the police car. Bashir Farrow was beaten to death. They didn't even get him to the police car. What is this, 1955 or 2011? You call it lynching in 55? You can't get a trial, you get murdered before you even get to the jail? That's a lynching in 2011. A lynching is a lynching. Whether it's done by people in a white sheet or whether it's done by people in a blue uniform. You know, nobody's against the police. All civilized societies have police. I'm a homeowner. If somebody's in my backyard, I'm going to call the police. It's not we against the police. We just want the police to do their job. Put the cuffs on them, take them down to the station. Your job is not to be the judge, the prosecutor, and the executioner. That's not your job. So we have to unite. Our survival depends on it. And we have to get on the move, and we have to build up strong organizations. And once we build those strong organizations up, we need to put our people back in the streets. One of the worst mistakes we ever made was to take the struggle out of the streets. We have to put the struggle back in the streets, brothers and sisters. There need to be demonstrations all up and down this state with these state budget cuts and these federal budget cuts and these attacks on workers' rights. This state should be on fire with protest. We need to take a leaf out of the people's notebook in Wisconsin. 100,000 are surrounding the state house in Wisconsin. We need to be on the move. the working people in this country. And brothers and sisters, we need to have a fair and equitable distribution of wealth. You know, we got millionaires in this state. There are people who are making $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 a year. They pay a greater proportion of their taxes than do people making $1 million. It's so bad, even Warren Buffett said that it wasn't right that his secretary was paying more taxes than he did. The rich got to pay their fair share. They got to pay their fair share. So, I don't want to talk too long. Come on, brother. I am. One who's not fit to tie the laces. One who's coming after me. But brothers and sisters, you get my drift.
Yes.
We got to fight. We got to fight like never before. And I hope that out of this program tonight will come a greater commitment. When Jeffrey Dye calls a meeting, that you will be there. When Kassim Washington calls a meeting, you'll be there. When Eddie Little calls a meeting, you'll be there. When any of the freedom fighters in our community are trying to organize and mobilize, that you will be there. That's what we need. We need violence. You know, we got a habit in our community. We let a few brothers and sisters work themselves to death. Work themselves out of a job. Work themselves into bad health. Work themselves out of their families because they are committed to our liberation. But it's not fair, just like it's not fair for the rich not to pay their fair share. It's not fair for you to reap the benefits of other people who struggle for you. That's not fair either. See, this fairness doctrine, it's got to be internal as well as external. You got to do your part. You know, you have to not watch American Idol one night and go to the meeting. In this school right here, we got 1,000 students. If you counted one parent per child, that'd be 1,000 parents. You come to the PTA meeting, it'd be 12, 15 parents. Sitting up there, and then you wonder why they cutting your budget. They cutting your budget because they know they can get away with it. They cutting your budget because they know you're not going to come to the PTA meeting. They cutting your budget because they know you're not going to come out and vote. Everybody's like, oh, how terrible Christy is. A lot of y'all didn't come to the polls. That's why Christy is. See, I'm not running for office. But I ain't getting no honorarium tonight. So I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to say what I believe. I didn't come here to entertain you. I didn't come here to make you feel good. I came here to be a warning to you that the wolf is at the door. So thank you, brothers and sisters, for this few minutes. I hope I have covered the topics that Jeffrey Dye outlined for me. And I look forward to hearing Brother Cornell West tonight. Power to the people.
Oh my goodness, Lincoln. you this evening. So hopefully we will have you out of here close to on time. Next we will have uplifting musical selections by our Black History Choir, which is led by Randy Kenner and Keith and Kevin Play. So please.